there are 9 games I'm really, really excited for this weekend. A bunch of storylines. Let's start with this. There are 2 big games on Saturday. Number 1 is Miami at Buffalo. Miami is 8-5. The Bills are 10-3. And Miami has to win this football game. They did beat Buffalo earlier this year. But right now, Miami's in a bad spot. They've lost 2 games in a row. And 2 games in a row, their quarterback, Tua, hasn't been great. And so winning this game for Buffalo would give the Bills a 3-game lead in the division with 3 games left. You cannot afford to lose this game if you want to win the division title and you're Miami. I've got a note here. It says, the cold, right? All week it's been a conversation. How is a team from Miami going to handle playing in the snow in Buffalo? Is that an advantage or not? I would think so. Miami's trying to downplay it. Mike McDaniel gave a quote where he was trying to say, look, everyone needs to acclimate to the cold. Nobody vacations in Buffalo. Where do the Bills players go when they are cold in the offseason? So, it makes sense to me. But I'm really curious how the cold might factor in. I would think it gives Buffalo an advantage. Miami's running game has to get going. If it's cold and snowy and they're throwing, I've played in snow games in Washington, not quite Buffalo, but it's like throwing a brick. That football is not warm and it's hard to catch. And I know in the NFL you got more technology and stuff, but Tua, I worry for him. If it's snowing in a blizzard, I want Josh Allen as my quarterback, a guy who can run people over and run quarterback boot and run the football well. Miami's more finesse. Buffalo's more power. In a cold, snowy game, I would rather have power as my defining factor than Miami, which has finesse throwing like slants every 5 minutes in the cold. I worry for Miami here, and so I'm really interested. Buffalo hosting Miami this weekend on Saturday. Massive game. It's going to be really, really interesting. Also on Saturday, you got the Ravens and the Browns. The Ravens are trying to compete for a division title. Their quarterback, Lamar Jackson, is out and will not play in this football game. So keep your eye on the Ravens and what happens there. I'm also really excited to track the progress of Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson. How long until Deshaun Watson has a really good game playing for Cleveland? Could it be this weekend? By the way, David Ojabo, a guy who was once going to be a first-round pick out of Michigan, pass rusher. Believe it was his Achilles. He tore his Achilles for Michigan near the end of the year last year. So he really fell back in the NFL draft. He probably would have been a first-round pick without the injury. The Ravens ended up drafting him later in the draft. He's going to make his NFL debut against Cleveland on Saturday. I'm just curious. I don't expect David Ojabo to do much. His first ever NFL game, but he'll be in the rotation getting after the quarterback, and that could be really fun and interesting. Sunday, we got a lot of really good stuff. Eagles-Bears is the first thing that grabbed my attention when I looked at Sunday's schedule. Philly should win easily. I'm not worried about that. But what is fun is Bears quarterback Justin Fields. He is questionable, but if he plays, you would have 2 really fun quarterbacks to watch in this football game. Jalen Hurts for Philly, Justin Fields for Chicago. Those are both names that I have heard in the MVP conversation. We might get a really special treat watching 2 really fun quarterbacks on Sunday in this football game. Jets-Lions is a massive game. The Lions have won 5 of their last 6 games. They are not an easy team to beat. The Lions' defense has gotten better. Their offense is already incredible. And Detroit is trying to make a playoff push and get ahead and make it into the playoffs. So are the Jets. And the big story here is that Jets quarterback Mike White was not cleared to play by doctors, which means that the Jets are going back to their former starting quarterback, Zach Wilson. Remember, he got benched, and now with Mike White hurt, he's going to get a second opportunity. And if Zach Wilson plays amazing here, I think he could regain the starting quarterback job because he's a top 5 pick. And when you're that invested in a quarterback, they get more opportunities. It's not fair. It's just true. If he's average, you got a tough decision to make. But I'm curious, can Zach Wilson regain the Jets starting quarterback job by throwing like 5 touchdowns and 500 yards or something crazy against Detroit on Sunday? Jets-Lions is an absolutely massive game. It's probably, Miami, Buffalo, I'm really interested in, and then Jets, Lions, that's my second most interesting game this weekend is Jets and Lions. The next game I want to talk about is the Steelers against Carolina. We have no idea who Pittsburgh's quarterback is going to be. Kenny Pickett, their rookie starting quarterback, is in concussion protocol. He may or may not play, probably not. So the quarterback situation in Pittsburgh is a storyline, but I'm not really even interested in that. What I am interested in is Carolina. Carolina has to win. If Carolina wins their last 4 games, they would get the NFC South division title and make the playoffs. So Carolina, this is their first of 4 games they got to win. Can Carolina take care of business? If they lose here, it's a really deflating loss. Technically, their season wouldn't be over. But Carolina controls their own destiny, and they got to do it starting with a win against Pittsburgh. Here's a game that... This game is not actually interesting, but there's a storyline that's interesting. It's the Patriots playing the Raiders. It's interesting in one aspect because Josh McDaniels is playing his old team, Bill Belichick and New England. I'm really curious what happens. But honestly, the Patriots offense is incredibly boring to watch. The Raiders are bad. I'm not that pumped, but I'm really curious to see how Josh McDaniels does against this old team. So if you're interested in outcomes, keep your eye on what happens in the Raiders-Patriots game. Chargers-Titans is a really big game. The Chargers are 7-6, and if the LA Chargers win, they've got a chance to sneak into the playoffs. If they win out, If LA can win every game the rest of the year, they'd finish 11-6 and might be able to sneak into the AFC playoff picture. Look, the LA Chargers have a lot of talent. They've dealt with injuries all year, but they could be healthy by the playoffs, and that would be massive. Now, this game is a weird, funny matchup. Last week on Sunday Night Football, we saw the LA Chargers pass defense play really, really well against Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Tua, and the Miami Dolphins offense. But the Chargers are notoriously bad at stopping the run on defense. Tennessee's got Derrick Henry, and they love to run the football. So it's a big test for Justin Herbert and his football team. Can their defense stop Derrick Henry? Can they win? I mean, maybe it's a shootout, and it's just on Herbert to score enough points to stop and outshine Derrick Henry. But if you lose in your LA, your season's basically over. 7-7 is not going to be good enough. But right now, the Chargers have hope. They're coming off a great win on Sunday Night Football. They could win here, be 8-6. And 11-6, I think, might get them into the playoffs. And also, if LA does make it into the playoffs, I think they are a dark horse Super Bowl team. Like, they have a lot of talent, and I think can hang with anyone. But their biggest test in a while is going to be this one, playing Tennessee. They got to stop the run. Sunday Night Football is the New York Giants at Washington. Both teams are 7-5-1. Last time they played each other, they tied. And right now in the playoff picture, Washington is the number 6 seed. The Giants are the number 7 seed. This game is going to really impact the playoffs, and it's also a division rivalry game. It's going to be kind of just a classic, fun Sunday Night Football game. Chris Collinsworth, going to be cold weather. It's December in Washington. I like this thought. It's a fun one. It's interesting. I think it's going to be a really fun, kind of classic, not high scoring, probably just kind of we're thinking like 21-17 Sunday Night Football game. It's going to be tense and interesting and have a very interesting effect on the NFC playoff picture. Now, on Monday, we get to revisit and see our old friend Baker Mayfield. The Rams play at Green Bay, and Baker is the Rams starting quarterback. He's now had 11 days with the Rams and their offense to study and prepare. So in this football game, we're going to get Aaron Rodgers and Baker Mayfield. It's two bad football teams with losing records, but Baker Mayfield trying to save his career, I think, makes this interesting. This Monday night game, I'm interested. We also get to watch Packers rookie receiver Christian Watson. He's had 7 touchdowns in the last 4 games. He's really coming along. I think Rams at Green Bay, despite the fact that it's two bad football teams, Christian Watson, Aaron Rodgers, Baker Mayfield, there's enough here to find some fun and find some joy, and I'm really excited for it on Monday Night Football.